This Mario statue is incredibly rare, and I personally think that statues like these are the coolest things you can have in a retro video game collection. You've probably seen this guy in the background in a few of my videos, but I haven't actually made a video about him yet or told you guys exactly how I got it, because the story is pretty crazy, took a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of patience, and a lot of connections. So before we jump into exactly how I got this thing, let's talk about the statue itself. So after speaking with a bunch of people who own the statue or have owned the statue, talking with Brandon, who is the guy that basically delivers this kind of stuff all over the United States, and a few other big collectors that do statues, kiosks, signs, stuff like that, the consensus seems to be that this was made anywhere from 1992 to 1997. It was definitely made for the Super Nintendo era. I personally think that it was probably made closer to the beginning of that like time range there. So in my opinion, probably 1992 to 1995. And the reason that I say that is because when the Nintendo 64 came out, Nintendo had a new Mario statue, which there is plenty of documentation for online, and the N64 came out in North America, 1997. So I think that it would be kind of weird if they made this statue one year and the very next year had an all new design. I think it makes more sense that they would have had this one, maybe a few year gap, and then made a different Mario statue for the next console. This guy was displayed in Toys R Us for sure. Everyone seems to agree on that, but being displayed elsewhere, who knows? It was probably displayed in other places as well, but Toys R Us is the one for sure that he was in. There's actually two different versions of this statue as well, and the one that I have here seems to be the more rare version. On the back, you'll notice that there are a few holes in him, and these would originally have little like hooks or brackets to allow you to hang him from the ceiling, which seems pretty crazy. I am not sure I would want to do that with this one. Just to, you know, if he ever fell or something like that, that would be, you know, devastating. But the more common version seems to not have those holes and was made to just stand on the ground like I have him here. So I don't think that there's going to be much of a price difference between the two versions, but it does seem like the one with the holes is maybe just a little bit harder to actually find. So he's pretty short, but this could be life-size for Mario. I'm not sure. Got a tape measure here. He is exactly 4 feet tall. He actually also doesn't weigh very much. He's pretty light, and this is my first time owning a Mario statue, so I was a little surprised when it got dropped off here that he was so light. I've seen other ones in person, obviously at conventions and at other game stores, but I've never owned one, so I never, I guess, had the opportunity to pick one up. But pretty cool. Most of the statues are kind of light. They're usually like some sort of plastic exterior with like a spray foam on the inside to kind of keep their shape, give them a little bit of weight but not make them too heavy. The full-size Master Chief statue that I have at my store is kind of the same thing. It's pretty big and awkward, but it's easy enough for one person to pick them up, and that's the same thing with this Mario here. I haven't attempted to clean this Mario statue at all. It does have some blemishes and some marks and stuff like that, but I think that that adds character to it. It shows its age because this is, you know, 30 years old. Super, super cool piece, and I think that when they get repainted and stuff, they look awesome when they look brand new, but this one is nowhere near bad enough to get repainted, and I kind of like the little blemishes that it has. I will probably attempt to clean it up a little bit at some point in the future, but I think it looks awesome as is. There was one thing that Brandon told me when I was asking about this statue that was very surprising to me. As this is the first one of these that I have owned, I guess I didn't really realize or understand. He's been delivering this kind of stuff all over the US for like 5 years now. The other Mario statue, the Nintendo 64 one, he said he's delivered like 40 or 50 of those. But this one, he's only delivered about 5 times. So that just goes to show how much more rare this one is than the other one. That is really, really crazy, and I cannot believe that I have this one because it's just super cool and I'm very, very happy with it. So now that we know a little bit more about the history of the actual statue, let me tell you guys a story of how I got it, because like I said, took a long time, took some connections, took some patience. So I uploaded a video on the channel. I don't know exactly how long ago, but it was a while ago. It was a video where I was driving from Vancouver here all the way up to Everett, Washington, which is up past Seattle. So that's about 3.5, 4 hours, depending on traffic. And I had seen a Facebook Marketplace posting for somebody that was selling a Mario statue and a Pikachu statue. But in the background of one of those images, I could see a Crash Bandicoot statue, at least part of it. And so I messaged the seller and I was like, hey, is that a Crash Bandicoot statue? And they confirmed that it was. My original plan was to try to buy all of them, but when I got there, they didn't want to sell the Mario or the Pikachu. And I actually don't remember if it was this Mario or if it was the other Mario, because there are 2 different Mario statues. But when I got there, he didn't want to sell them. He only wanted to sell Crash, plus a few other things. I got the miniature Master Chief, some Blues Brothers statues. But the Crash Bandicoot one is arguably way more rare than the Mario, either Mario or the Pikachu statue. So I was happy enough to get what I was getting. And the people in one of the kiosk collecting groups on Facebook were going crazy because this Crash statue never comes up for sale, right? It's super, super rare. And luckily, the seller was cool. Even though people had been messaging him and offering him more money, he still held it for me, which I definitely appreciate. The Crash statue was not super cheap, if I'm remembering correctly, and you can go back and watch that video if you want to see for sure, but I think it was either $2,000 or $2,500. I can't remember for sure, but it was somewhere around that range. And I have a connection with someone named Brandon who runs a business basically delivering kiosks and arcades and signs and stuff like this all over the country. And he was personally extremely interested in the Crash Bandicoot statue. And originally, I had no plans to sell it, didn't want to get rid of it. I wanted to put it in our new store and have it on display. And then of course, opening up our new store got pushed back to 2025. And so Crash was in our living room. The statue was like 8 feet tall. The base for it was like this big around, and it took up a lot of room. Abby, my girlfriend, did not really want it in the house anymore. It scared her too many times when she would come out of the bedroom, you know, in the morning or whatever, and there's this giant thing in the living room, right? So Brandon had made me a cash offer for the Crash statue, which I had turned down because, like I said, I didn't want to sell it. Eventually, I said, hey, I will trade the Crash statue for a Mario statue. But it had to be this Mario statue. I didn't want it to be the other one, right? I wanted it to be this one. I don't know what the technical names are for this one, but I think a lot of people call this one the Fat Mario because he's a little bit of a bigger boy than the other Mario statue. And so he's like, let's do it. I'll make the trade. I'll find you one. And I said, my only stipulation is that obviously you have to deliver the Mario and pick up the Crash, but also I wanted one that wasn't in bad condition, because some of them that are out there are in really, really rough condition. The paint is like completely gone or sun faded. This one looks pretty good and I'm super happy with it. So he drove out, we made the trade, he's super happy, I'm super happy, and we traded straight across. Now, for me, the Crash statue, like I said, I think is way more rare, but Mario, in my opinion, is cooler. I have a much bigger connection to Mario than I do to Crash. It obviously isn't as big, so it's a little bit easier to store until we have our new store to put him in. And I just think that the Mario statue overall is cooler, in my opinion. But for Brandon, he deals with this stuff all the time. I think he had like 2 or 3 of these in his trailer when he delivered this one. But the Crash statue, like I said, never comes up for sale. So he's super happy, I'm super happy. And I did a pretty good trade up because I paid, you know, $2,000 for the Crash, but these Marios have been known to sell anywhere from like $6,000 to $11,000, just depending on condition and all that. So I think I did pretty good. And without my connection to Brandon, or I guess to anyone in the kiosk group, and without the luck of maybe being one of the first people to see the Facebook Marketplace listing for the Crash, and without being able to basically rent the U-Haul and drive up there immediately, I wouldn't have ended up with this Mario statue, which at this point is now one of my favorite pieces out of the entire collection. It's this one, it's the Pokemon Snap Station, and it's the Mortal Kombat Goro standee, which while Brandon was here dropping this off, he was really trying to buy, but I'm not quite ready to let that one go either. So that is it. That's how I got this incredible statue. Once we move to our new store location in 2025, this guy should be in the store on display somewhere. So if you're local to the Vancouver or Portland, Oregon area, you can come and check it out in person. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you learned something, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.